Well, hello, Indianapolis Motor Speedway fans. Doug Bowles here with you again for another one of the weekly episodes of Catching Up with the Stars of the NTT INDYCAR Series as we get ready for the 107th running of the Indianapolis 500 presented by Cambridge. And this one leads into qualifying weekend. And what makes that one more special is we have Scott Dixon here, who, if he can sit on the pole for the Indianapolis 500 this year, that would be his 6th pole position. It would tie him with the legendary Rick Mears. Scott, thanks for hanging out with us.
Hey, thank you. Thanks for having me.
So what would getting a 6th pole at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway mean to you? You would be tied with Rick Mears in the most poles in the driver's history.
It'd be amazing. You know, I think kind of as you get to this point in your career, you start hopefully getting to some of these milestones, which, you know, for me, I've been extremely fortunate. I think that the bad side is, though, all I think about are the close misses opposed to the ones that we actually got. And some of them were somewhat unexpected. You know, obviously, you know kind of how you're going to fare in pretty good detail, but you know, some of them have definitely been shockers. But to equal Rick would be crazy.
Well, you've had 2 poles in a row, so to grab a 3rd one would be pretty unique. In fact, I haven't done my research, but off the top of my head, I can't think of anybody that's picked up 3 poles in a row, so that would make it even more special.
Well, there you go. You know, records are there to be broken. You know, I think the Indy 500 is such a rush for me, and you know, it is a race of 2 races, and the pole, the fight for the pole there is probably the most nervous, and especially with the current format, because when you go out and run those 4 laps, it's the only time you've been in the car for that day. So
right.
you go into turn 1, you know, you're going in there flat, and you're like, I hope this is going to make it through. You know, you never really know. So it's pretty wild, I think, when you look at it from that sensation.
You got to trust that engineer, right? And the guys who have made the right changes.
Absolutely, and a lot of it comes to the weather, the wind direction.
Yep.
You know, even now, especially track temperature has been pretty sensitive, and yeah, I kind of steer clear a bit of the morning meetings to not really go through the changes. I just make sure it sticks, and they always do.
So last year, I don't think we all really realized this until it happened, but your pole position run last year was the fastest pole position run in history. Really, the only faster person to qualify than you was Ari.
Yeah.
A lot of that was weather conditions, right? Because a lot of folks are saying, well, if Scott did that last year, can we break the track record this year? But you sort of had perfect conditions in 2022.
Definitely perfect conditions, but I think for a lot of us, we didn't really understand why we went so fast. You know, whether it was the tire or whether it was the track, or, you know, the conditions were good, but not something that we thought would favor the speeds as much as they did. You know, even some of Renus's laps were extremely fast and extremely high speed.
Right.
You know, maybe didn't have the consistency. So, you know, us as a team, I think, and as a group of you know, the INDYCAR group, probably didn't see that coming. So it was exciting to see those big numbers, and obviously for our run, it was one of those perfect ones.
So just a couple years ago, 3 years ago, you were sitting outside the top 10 in laps led in the history of the Speedway. And then over those last 3 races, you have vaulted yourself from 11th past some unbelievable names: Bobby Unser, Bill Vukovich, Wilbur Shaw, AJ Foyt, Mario Andretti. It goes on. And then you pass Ralph De Palma and Al Unser Sr. You now have led more laps in the history of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, 665, than anyone. What I love the most about it is, throw 1911 out, because whoever led the most laps in 1911 was going to be the historical leader. But from 1912 to 1993, Ralph De Palma was the most laps ever led in Indy 500 history, and then Al Unser Sr. eclipsed him in 93.
Yeah.
So you're just the 4th person, and the 3rd one really, to have led more laps than anybody in the history of the Indianapolis 500.
It's, that stat for me was huge and very special. Obviously, you only need to lead 1 lap, and that's the last lap. So I need to work on that ability of making sure I lead the right ones. But yeah, you know, it actually going into this race, because a lot of people were talking about it, it did rest on my mind a little bit. And at the start of the race, I'm like, man, we need to lead this thing. We need to lead this thing. And it was a great kind of back and forth with Palou there. So yeah, it's a huge deal. You know, for me personally, that felt really cool to finally get to that step.
Well, you know, we talk about you as being the Iceman, but in a lot of ways you've become the Iron Man. I mean, you just continue to be around, and not just be around, but be around and be competitive and have a chance to win. Last year, disappointment in pit lane. How did you refocus your mind to finish that race? Because at some level, you've done 20 of these. You just throw your hands up and say, I'm not going to win it, I'm pulling the thing in.
No, you could never do that. I think the thing in racing and motor racing, you're never out of it until you're really out of it. Maybe there was going to be a kind of, I knew at that point, being the last stop, that it was pretty much over. But at that point too, you're also, because it's double points, you're trying to move up as fast and as quick as you can to at least salvage something, because having a bad race there definitely makes it tough to come back from. And we saw that. My whole rest of the season was really just trying to fight back those points. But yeah, it's disappointing. You win and lose as a team, and you have some highs and lows, and it's those years I think you learn the most about yourself and about the people you work with, and hopefully it makes you stronger, and hopefully I won't be making that mistake again. It was 0.6 of a mile an hour. I thought you guys might have let me go with that one, but it didn't work out. The only time you get a penalty at the Indianapolis 500 if you're going too fast, I guess.
I guess that's true, and I don't have it. I'm not in the rules, and
No,
I'm not
I know.
helping make those
Yeah.
rules. And because certainly it would have been awesome to have you pick up a second Indianapolis 500 win. I think our fans would definitely like that. What I love the best is that you're coming back, and we know you'll have a chance to do that again, because you're with a great team, a team that you understand and know well, and you've got some pretty good teammates this year.
Some big teammates. I've got to say too, I was so happy for Marcus. The only saving grace for my disappointment was that he won the race,
Right.
and because the team deserved it. They'd done such a tremendous job with all 5 cars. All of the cars were fast, all were reliable, etc., etc. But it's also were great as well. So yeah, coming back this year, we've got a 2-time winner with Taku, myself, and Marcus, and then obviously with Alex, who's led a ton of laps there already and has been extremely close, even in his short career at the 500.
Right.
So yeah, you got to say it's one of the strongest teams, man.
It is definitely one of the strongest teams. You mentioned Alex. One of the things I really appreciated about your ability to get through the season, especially the middle of the season on, there were 2 kind of crazy stories going on. The Colton Herta going to F1 and the whole Alex thing blows up. Alex is your teammate. And really from the moment that story happened, that you were laser focused, not on what was happening outside the car or outside the racetrack, but on trying to win a championship. Was that difficult to keep that mindset?
I think for the biggest thing you got to, when you look at the whole picture, it's never about one person, right? That knock-on effect goes through the whole group, which is sometimes the frustrating part. Obviously, I don't know the ins and outs of it, and felt bad for the situation coming and when the timing wasn't great. But I think the team in general, and Alex did a tremendous job too to try and get rid of a lot of the noise that was going on, to focus in, and both of us had a great shot to go for that championship coming down to the last 2 or 3 races. He goes out, knocks the last one out of the park, man, and wins by a country mile, which was a great way for him to finish the year. So
Right.
I think that's where this team is really good. They're always laser focused, and it's that never give up attitude.
Right.
They never give up, and I think that's what's won us a lot of championships.
So one of the things I don't know a lot of our fans know, oftentimes when we're thinking about things at the racetrack, my 2 go-to guys are you and TK. And I'll call you and you guys make time to come out. I don't know if you ever saw, we did a really cool core sample out of the racetrack.
Yeah.
That core sample really happened because of a test that you had. I remember calling you after a test, and I can't remember what year that was, 2017, 2018. And you were concerned about 2 bumps on the backstretch.
Yeah.
And we thought maybe they were timing lines, right?
Yeah.
So we went out there and took a look at them and couldn't quite figure it out, so we ended up doing core samples. Turns out those weren't timing lines, but they were areas where the bricks over time in the 30s were actually taken out and filled with asphalt, so it freezes and thaws differently. But all those core samples were because of you saying, hey, can you take a look at these 2 things in the racetrack?
Yeah.
And that's the other thing I love about you. You're always thinking about how to make the racetracks better, worrying about safety, and you're really transparent, and not only just saying, hey, we need to fix this, coming out and helping us figure out how to do it.
Yeah, of course. You got to be in it to win it and be a part of the team. We're a family. All of us are a family, and that's what's very important. I think whether so you can help the progression of the sport. Some of us might be a little picky here and there, and had to make you drill major big holes in the track to figure out what was going on. But the core samples are cool too, just
Right.
to see the evolution of what's been down on the track and what's kind of come out of it, I guess now. But yeah, it's part of it, man. And we thank you for all the time and effort you put into it. And the promotion of the speedway that you do is just tremendous. But the effort that you take, I think, to go that extra bit to make it safe for all of us is big.
Well, passionate about like you are. Speaking of family, you've got a pretty strong wingman in your wife and your family, and it's been fun to watch the 2 of you together. She's got a following herself in terms of the way she is. But you have become an example. It reminds me an awful lot of how the Rutherfords were, how Betty and Johnny were. The 2 of you really are a strong couple inside our paddock.
For sure, yeah, we're Bert and Ernie, man. We're as tight as can be. You know, and I think what I love about Emma the most, you know, there's lots of things I love about Emma, but it's just her competitiveness, which comes from, you know, her running background, being a runner for Great Britain, and probably in the most evil kind of discipline of 800 meters, you know. So she definitely knows the grit and the effort that it takes to kind of get to that point, and having that in a partnership is amazing. I feel very lucky to have that outside of, you know, all the great things, you know, also with Emma. But yeah, we're a great team, man. We love it. Her and Chip are the two most competitive people I know on this earth, man.
Well, you're awful competitive too. Sometimes you may not show it as just that emotional outward, but when you strap a helmet on, there is nobody better than Scott Dixon in an NTT IndyCar Series car, and certainly at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We're all going to be watching this year because this guy deserves to win a second Indianapolis 500.